Good morning, fellow realtors and loan officers. I could sure use your help this morning. Have a deal that fell apart. Could certainly use your assistance if you have any sort of suggestions for me. I represent the seller. We went under contract May 15th, and we did not get to the closing table as scheduled on. We went to under contract March 15th. Did not get to the closing table on May 9th, almost 60 days later. When we got this offer, we had a conditional approval letter. I called the loan officer and checked, asked all the pertinent questions that I know how to ask, whether the buyer, if the applicant had filled out an application, if the lender had verified credit, assets, income, employment. The answer to everything was yes, yes, yes. In the contract itself, we put on the third-party financing addendum that the buyer be approved within 21 days. I called prior to that because I wasn't hearing anything from the lender, and they said, oh, sure, everything's fine, no problems. Are we going to have any issue getting to the closing table May 9th? No, everything looks good. So the appraisal's done, appraisal comes back fine, survey's done, survey comes back fine, everything's good to go. I'm assuming everything's fine. My sellers move out, they move out of the state, they're going to use this income on another house. It gets complicated. I think everything is perfectly fine, and I'm passing along that information that I've been given, that everything's good. May 9th rolls around, and we're not getting the clear to close. When I'm calling the loan officer, he's stalling in my opinion. I ask, well, what are the chances of us getting to the closing table? He said, I think, gut reaction 50-50. I said, what? 50-50? Those are not good odds. And he said, we have problems with income and complicated tax returns. Income, complicated tax returns. Shouldn't those things have been addressed in the first, 2 or 3 days? I understand that the buyer is self-employed. She's a realtor in another state. But complicated tax returns and employment should have been addressed well before even day 21 if we were going to have a problem. When I asked further what the underwriter said, he said, well, we don't send our file to the underwriter for the first time until after the appraisal's done. I said, well, first of all, that was 2 weeks ago. And I said, but what do you mean you don't send it to the underwriter? He said, well, we use the computerized system to verify if someone if they go through the automated system. And I said, well, the automated system is fine, but normally my loan officers send the file to the underwriter at least the first time once it gets the buyer docs. So the underwriter has reviewed it by day 21, and we know that the buyer can qualify for the house. And then the survey and the appraisal is done, and then that's sent to the underwriter again. And then the buyer and the property are married up one last time, and it's sent to the underwriter a third time. He said, no, we don't do it that way. That's wasteful. That's wastes everybody's time. What? He said, that's not standard in the industry. Well, from the lenders that I use, it is. My question to my fellow realtors and loan officers is this: what can I do differently? What can I do to ensure that I'm asking the right questions when I'm getting these pre-approval letters? As a buyer's agent, what can I, if a buyer doesn't choose a loan officer that I'm familiar with, that I know how they work, what kind of questions can I be asking to ensure that this doesn't happen to one of my files on the buyer's side? I'm not sure how to prevent this in the future, and I'm open to any sort of suggestions or guidelines or something that somebody does differently, because I don't want this to happen again. Something along these lines has happened on 3 transactions already this year, and it's just, May for me. Some of these pre-approval letters aren't worth the paper they're printed on. I need to know how to help guide my clients and make sure that these transactions are legitimate, these buyers are legitimate, and we're going to get these things to the closing table and make these transactions as smooth as possible. I don't want to put another one of my clients through this if at all preventable. And so I'm open to any sort of suggestions that you can possibly give me if any of you have any sort of ideas. Am I allowed to have to ask that a buyer get pre-approved by one of my loan officers that I know how they work? Am I allowed to insist on that or ask for that? Not that they have to use them, but to have a second set of eyes of someone I trust review the file. Am I allowed to even go that direction? So I'm open to any suggestions that any of you may have for me. Look forward to hearing from you, and thanks for your help.